Good morning, everyone. It's day 24 of 25 of our YouVersion Bible reading app plan, Discovering Hope During Catastrophe. Uh, Before we get into this, I want to give a special shout out to my wife, Maria. It is our 9-year wedding anniversary. Happy anniversary, Maria. I love you. And 9 years ago, it was like over 100 degrees, and I feel like today it is very similar. So, July 2nd probably will always be very, very hot and humid. But I'm excited to share with you what we're reading this morning as we've been asking this question: how should I treat others during this pandemic? And as I reflect on being married for 9 years, and Maria and I have been together actually for over 13 years, we've been together. Um, this is a great reminder, I think, for everyone, but especially for those of us who are married. This passage in Galatians chapter 6, if go down to verse 9, it says, "So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. Therefore, whenever we have the opportunity, we should do good to everyone, especially to those in the family of faith." So, those two verses, Paul is talking in the context of, hey, we need to be kind and treating others within the family of God with dignity and respect and love and doing good to them, and that we should continue to do it because over time that reaps a harvest. I think as a married person or someone in a significant relationship, this is a great reminder that when you go through marriage and you go through the ups and downs that marriage brings about, there should always be this desire to do good to your spouse, to love them unconditionally, to serve them wholeheartedly, to sacrifice for their good and benefit, even if it's not exactly what you want. And the more that you pursue selflessness within the marriage, the more fruit, the more benefit you will see out of it. I think that's one of the toughest things about getting married and then possibly having kids, is that it reveals that selfishness inside of you. It brings it to the forefront, it brings it to the light very, very quickly and very often, the longer and longer you're married. And so I know for me this is a great reminder, just in the context of, am I a husband who is putting my wife's needs and desires first and foremost in my life? Am I choosing her over myself? And if I continue to do that, well, I'm going to reap a harvest of blessing. There's going to be fruitfulness, there's going to be joy, there's going to be contentment, there's going to be celebration within our marriage. Now, as we talk about the pandemic and our response to others during the pandemic, all of that applies for people that we don't see eye to eye with, for people that we struggle with. All of that applies. But I also want to jump back up to verses 2 and 3, where it says this: share each other's burdens, and this way obey the law of Christ. And then verse 3, if you think you're too important to help someone, you're only fooling yourself. You're not that important. Those are pretty strong words from Paul, um, that he has for us, but it's in the context of helping people who are struggling with sin. So if you see someone who's fallen into sin, who is following Jesus but has kind of gone back to that path of just doing their own thing, Paul says, hey, I need you to share their burden, to feel the pain that they're going through, to understand and empathize. Okay, maybe this is why they're going down that path, so that when you choose to do that, you then can obey the law of Christ, which is to love your neighbor as yourself. If you and I were going down the wrong path, we would want someone to come into our lives to know exactly what we're going through, to empathize with, okay, I could see why they would make that decision. I could see why they would choose that. And then as you feel that you're not going with them in their path of sin, but then you are coming alongside them to help them out and turn back to Christ. And then verse 3, it says, you better be doing that. Because if you're not doing that, you're too full of yourself. And guess what? You're not that important. You're not that. You're not a big shot in the Christian faith where it's like, oh, I'm doing so many great things, and other people just need to get on track. And if they would just look to me and follow me, then they'd be okay. No, no, no. You need to come alongside other people and love them as you love yourself, and then you'll be able to help them out. And then the connection goes down to verse 9 and 10 is that don't grow weary in doing this. Don't give up doing this. Continue to do good towards others, no matter what the initial response is, no matter how difficult the process is of helping them get back on track. So, to bring this full circle, what is our response towards others in the pandemic? Well, it's to empathize with them and what they're going through, to be able to put yourself in their shoes so you can fully experience to the best of your ability the pain or the hurt or the suffering that they're enduring. And then come alongside them and be with them. Don't dismiss their feelings. Don't dismiss what they're going through. Don't dismiss the struggles that they have, but instead empathize and understand as best as possible what they're going through. And then do something about it. Maybe it's listening. Maybe it's meeting a practical need. Maybe it's giving financially to whatever it is that they're going through, whatever need they have. The list is endless. But the only way that you and I are able to meet the needs of those around us, to fulfill the law of Christ, to love our neighbors as ourselves, we first have to put ourselves in their shoes. We first have to empathize. We first have to share their burdens and feel the pain and the hurt that they're going through. And that will compel us to love them the way that we love ourselves, or even more so, love them the way that God loves them. So the hope and encouragement is that you and I are capable of making a difference. And that if we can focus on making a difference in showing that type of love, if we continue to do that, it will make an impact. There will be a harvest of blessing down the road for us as we see their lives change because we chose to empathize with them, do good to them, and fulfill the law of Christ of loving ourselves the same way we love our neighbors. So hopefully that can be a hope and encouragement for you today. I'd love to hear what you're learning from this, so feel free to leave a comment in the section below. And if you haven't already, it's not too late. You can still click the subscribe button so you can get all these devotions and our sermons and church updates right to your device as soon as we post them. Well, happy Thursday, everyone. We got one more day of this devotion. Can't wait to wrap this up with you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your Thursday.